video, we're talking about how I got straight A stars at A-level and how you can too. This video was quite highly requested, so here we go. You know, it's no secret that A stars are the gold standard of A-level grades. Getting even 1 requires a lot of work, so getting 3 or 4 can seem quite impossible and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, and in this video we're going to explore how I did it and those tips you can apply to your own study. Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. My name's Imogen, and in this video we're talking about A-level grades, specifically A stars. So before I start, a quick disclaimer. I went to a fantastic school with brilliant teachers. I recognise not everyone has that privilege. Still, many of my classmates under the same conditions got lower grades than I did, so hopefully this advice is still helpful and you can apply it to whatever you're studying, whether that's A-levels or something else. So firstly, I chose subjects I liked and which would get me onto the university course I was aiming for. I took geography, politics and maths, so I had to demonstrate both essay writing skills and numerical skills. And students with similarly mixed A-levels have to as well. But this is much easier when you love the subjects and you have an innate curiosity about them. It's also motivating when they're going to help you progress, whether that's to university or some other high-level training. Because obviously not everyone goes to university and that's fine. Whatever your goal is, this can still help. So next, I had routines and organisation systems. I had a morning routine, I arrived and left at the same time each day, so this gave me more time at school. If I had an afternoon free period, I wouldn't leave. I also kept folders with sections for notes and homework. That made sure I didn't miss anything, and I set reminders for lessons and homework, and that made sure everything got submitted on time. And you know, I wasn't perfect. Did I go to a lesson late? Yes. Did I miss a homework one time? Yes. Did I fix those things? Also yes. So I think it's not about being perfect necessarily in sixth form, but it's about making sure that when you do make a mistake that you learn from it, and I think if you can do that, then you can do well. The next tip is that I got comfortable with discomfort. So studying is often uncomfortable. That's just something you have to accept. I failed loads of times and I just used it as a learning curve and as information. So here's an example. I once got 43% on a maths practice exam and I was disappointed. Like, I was really disappointed. That was a C. I didn't want a C. You know, I kept my piece of paper with my mark on it inside my calculator for the rest of the year. So every time I opened my calculator lid, this little 43% would fall out on a piece of paper and I'd be like, yep, I need to work hard. And I just kept that for the rest of the 2 years as a reminder to work hard and, you know, to do the extra practice, to ask questions, and it really worked. So if you have a tangible reminder like that, it can be really useful. So on to the next tip. This one's a good tip actually. I set myself unreasonable standards. So I'm going to put unreasonable in quotes there because obviously I did it, so it's not unreasonable. Things like, you know, being at school for 8:45 each day. Some of you might laugh at that, anyway. Finishing a practice paper in half the time, practicing 6 essays in a day. These are probably silly targets, but I did set them and I met them. And I found that if I tried to set myself higher standards and I failed to meet them, I'd still be doing really well. So I think this tip is about stretching your abilities. So when you constantly stretch your abilities, they grow. And if you're stretching your abilities academically, they're going to grow academically. It's the same as exercise or anything else like that. So if you set yourself higher targets, even if you fail to meet them, you're still going to have done really well on the way. And I think that's kind of the principle behind this tip. This next tip you're not going to like very much, but I'm going to give it anyway because it worked for me. I actually talked to my teachers. You know, they were a very diverse set of people, but despite their differences, I noticed something they all had in common, is that they loved their subjects, they wanted their students to do well, and honestly, this is true of teachers in general. So I asked questions, I wrote emails, I searched them out in support sessions. I made my effort not to piss them off because, like, sometimes, what's the point? Like, develop a good working relationship with your teachers. It's never going to hurt you. I also followed up on confusing topics and it was all really worth it because, yeah, when you're nice to people, they're nice to you, and it just makes it easier for you guys to have a good sort of working dynamic. So the next tip, you probably won't like either, it's a boring one, but you have to put homework in on time. Honestly, homework's there for a reason, and you got to look at feedback. If you put your homework in and forget about it, what's the point? Because the whole point is to get feedback so your work can improve. So remember the digital reminders I said earlier? Yeah, they ensured I was pretty much never late with homework, and I never failed to hand it in. The one time I was late, I did hand it in the same day. So I always looked at it when it came back. I made notes of what I did well and what I did wrong. In fact, my geography teacher introduced me to the concept of what went well and even better if, which is like things you did well and things you can improve. I still use that concept, so shout out to him. I also brought that knowledge to my next assignment, so whatever I did wrong, next time I was writing, I'd be like, oh, remember not to do X, Y, Z, and then I wouldn't do it, and then I would improve. So this was also a great chance to ask questions. So if I got the homework back and I was in class and I was looking at it and I was like, why did you do that? I could ask my teacher straight away. And that really helped because it was a reminder to ask those questions. And as soon as I got the answers, I could write it down on the homework. So once you get your homework back, just look at it quickly. It doesn't have to be in detail. You can look at it in detail later, but just look at it quickly. Any questions you want to ask, ask them then and there. Why not? And then write down the feedback. The more feedback, honestly, the better. So, I did every past paper I could. I saved what I think is probably the best tip until last. You can't use it without the other tips, but I did every past paper I could. So I started revising for my A-levels in the winter before I took them, so in about January, when I took them in about May. And the best part of my revision was past papers. I say best as in most effective and also most fun, which you're probably going to think is a huge nerd thing, and I'm a huge nerd, but it was fun. So I probably did like 20 maths papers, about 4 or 5 times each. I'm not exaggerating, I had a log and that's how many it was. Dozens of politics and geography essays, again, several times each. So we had like a list of a bunch of past papers and I just went through them. I kept a record. If I didn't get full marks on a paper, I would try again and record my score next time and each time. So honestly, I believe that without past papers, getting straight A stars is impossible, because if you think about it, you're practicing exactly what they're going to test you on, and if you want to ace the test, there's no better way to do it than practicing the test repeatedly. So yeah, honestly, please, if you want to get A stars, indeed straight A stars, please do past papers, because they are your friends, they are not your enemy. Past papers are here to help you, and yes, you'll be bad at the first one you do. You'll probably be bad at the 15th one you do. I failed some past papers very badly, and I'd done them for ages, and what I did was I was just like, well, there's no limit to the number of times I can do these as long as I start early enough, so you might as well just try it again. Eventually, I was getting like 90%, 95% and everything was fine, but you've got to be a little bit tough and be like, well, I failed that past paper, let's have another go. So yeah, those are my main tips for A-levels and how to get straight A stars doing them. And I think sometimes it's easier if you don't have mixed subjects, because then, you can focus all in one area, but maybe it's harder because then you have to focus on one thing and you go insane. Like, I know if I hadn't had essay subjects, maths would have driven me a bit crazy and vice versa. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and let's talk about it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to get updated every time I post, which is every Monday. Thanks for watching. I'm Imogen. This is Trees and Turtles, and I will see you soon. Bye.